Let's do it. Let's do it. Why not? Let's go. If you can see me and hear me okay, please drop me a message. Welcome to the live Ask Me Anything. This is the 6th of December. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in sunny Cheshire, not sunny at all. And this is the live Ask Me Anything, which I do in my private group once a week. And I'm just going to pull this up on my phone so I can see any questions. Hope everyone is good. Let me see here. Who've we got? We've got 7 people watching live. Apparently. Zol is here. Vanessa is here. Vanessa says hi. Hi, Vanessa. I guess I'm coming through okay. Ree says hi. Great. Thank you guys for joining me today. This is a strange one, but we have no pre-live video questions have come in yet. So I'm hoping you guys have some questions you want answers to. Yes, Toby, please go ahead and ask questions right here. You can just post a comment with your question and I will do my best to answer it. We have no questions that have come in beforehand. We have no people who've asked for reviews. Hi, Adrian from Dublin. Jack is here. Hello, Jack. Gordon from Philadelphia is here. All right. Good to see everyone. I hope you're doing good wherever you are in the world. I've never shown you guys where I am in the world. This is the view outside my window. I don't know if you can see that very well. But it's a cloudy day here today in Cheshire in the UK. Not especially cold though, which is good. Okay. I do still have a little bit of a cough, but I'm getting better. Steve says it's frozen for him. Anybody else? It was frozen last week here, Steve, but it's warmed up a little bit. Apparently this weekend it's supposed to get a lot colder, so we're bracing ourselves for this. Okay, Ree has a first question already, but let me just say, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so big news, merch news, of course, is that listings have been frozen. If you're selling on Merch by Amazon, no doubt you will have noticed, or maybe you haven't. Maybe this is the first you're hearing about it. But Merch have frozen edits and new listings, so there's no way to edit existing listings right now. Everything is frozen. Of course, sales are still happening and stuff, but you can't edit listings. You can't list new products and stuff, new designs. So, excuse me. So yeah, that's a big one. It's sad news for a lot of us who daily add new designs and stuff. It means we're kind of going to have to suck it up and live with that. I guess that will change maybe towards the end of December, probably after the Christmas rush. But hey, we are where we are. So that's happened. Any other news to report? We have 1,000 members in this group right now, which is great. That's the first time we've hit 1,000, which is fantastic. It does mean that I've sold, maybe not exactly, but at least close to 1,000 copies of my books, which is great. For those who've been tracking with me for a while, it was earlier this year that I launched the book, so that's been great. Thank you guys for being part of that. Thank you for buying the books. Thank you for coming and being in the group. Thank you for asking questions and helping one another out. It's been a great year for me personally, for this group, for everything this community does and stuff. So thank you for being part of it. And thanks, Toby. Apologies for the coughing. I am still got a bit of a tickle. But without further ado, let me answer some questions and see what I can help you guys with today. I saw someone ask, who was that? Steve says, will there be a replay? Yes, Steve, there'll be a replay as soon as this finishes. So I'll finish this before 4 p.m. this time. So this will be less than an hour, this video. I'm going to take a drink of water here, see if I can clear my throat a bit. So yeah, as soon as the video finishes, it goes into the Facebook group in the video section. You'll be able to watch it there. And yeah, instant replays available to watch back anytime you like. Videos are not taken down, so you can go back and watch previous Ask Me Anythings and stuff. So, yeah, hope that answers that one, Steve. Okay, let me see. Who got the first question in here? I think it was Ree. Yeah. Ree, how do you handle designing for buyers who shop on mobile devices? Interesting question, that, Ree. Honestly, my answer is that I don't do anything different. I mean, are you asking specifically like merch by Amazon, or are you talking about like selling on your own website or whatever? I don't think there's much that really, especially if you're creating designs on Amazon and stuff. I guess the only thing that springs to mind is that people who shop on Amazon, who are on the Amazon app or whatever on their mobiles, they probably... I'm going to have a quick look at that actually and see what Amazon looks like, what the app looks like. I do have the app on my phone here. So if I do a search for t-shirt or funny t-shirt, funny Christmas shirts, why not? Okay, so this is what it looks like. Don't know how well you guys can see this on my phone. I don't know if that's in focus, but you can see the t-shirt images on one side and then the text is on the other side. So you get a pretty nice view of the t-shirts, really. There's maybe like 3 listings, 1, 2, 3 you can fit on a page. So you get a pretty decent graphic. That was going to be my only real comment, was if you're designing something and it's very small on the t-shirt. These are not showing merch shirts actually, so it's quite hard to compare, but let me see if I can filter this and get some merch shirts here. So that top t-shirt there, don't know how well you guys can see it, is a merch shirt. And the graphic is visible and works, that's okay. But if you were designing anything and your graphic was smaller than that, I guess that would be my only consideration, is that perhaps you're going to lose the ability to really catch the buyer's eye if you design too small. So, I mean, that's true, though, across, like, not just mobile, but any kind of, any kind of merch selling. You want to have your artwork take up the majority of the possible space you can, in most cases. So I hope that makes sense, Ree. Okay, let me see here. I seem to have lost your questions. Bear with me a sec. Here we go. So that was Ree with the first question. Toby says, I got accepted a month ago and bought my way to the 25 tier. I'm really struggling to find good niches. My bestseller today sells 1 each 2 days. As I told you before, I'm successful at Society 6 and other sites, but merch has been really hard. So, yeah, Toby, I mean, it is a different situation, merch, and obviously the 25 tier is very difficult to sell at. I think you're probably, like, just to kind of reassure you, you're in a kind of perfect storm situation, of course. You're in the 25 tier. It's Christmas time. Designs are getting throttled, so not everyone's designs are being displayed all the time. Merch is obviously having capacity issues now. They've stopped like uploading or editing listings and stuff. So, I mean, you didn't ask a specific question there, Toby, but I guess you're asking kind of, what kind of advice would I give and that kind of thing. My advice would be just kind of wait it out. You know, print on demand. You know how these things work. You will get out of the 25 tier. You will get to the 100 tier, and that's when you can start to really make progress, because that, of course, gives you 4 times the listing capacity, 4 times the ability to cover different niches and to do different things and try different things. So I guess I would just say don't panic. Merch does take a while now because of the tiering process. It does take a while to get out of those tiers, but it is hard. 25 designs is just like so hard to evaluate. It's not like we can say, oh, you're doing this wrong or you're doing that wrong. It's just that you've only got 25 slots. Like, you've only got 25 designs up. Like, selling anything of 25 regularly on a marketplace like Amazon is going to be so difficult, unless you've got some really specific, low competition, relatively high high sales volume niches or something that you're in. So honestly, I would just kind of say, hopefully by the end of the Christmas period, maybe you'll break out of that 25 tier. Obviously, you've got to wait to be tiered up. But in terms of like, would I do much at tier 25? Honestly, I probably wouldn't. I would just like get 25 designs up, and as long as something is selling, and unless you've got like a nagging feeling like, oh, this design is clearly not going to sell, I would kind of leave things probably as they are and just wait. Like, it's literally just a waiting game. I wouldn't buy myself out of the 25 tier. I would literally just kind of say, wait, you're going to get there. And if you feel like you need to tweak designs and take certain designs out, maybe you've got Christmas designs that you should pull after Christmas and introduce some other ones. But in general, I would say you've just got to kind of wait it out, unfortunately. If you do have a specific question, Toby, on that, then I'll try and answer that for you. Okay. Vanessa said, Hi Michael, I'm reading your books, but I'm wondering if Facebook paid ads work for increasing traffic on Redbubble and Teespring. I tried twice with small budget, but had no sales, and the views FB said I gained don't show up in the managed portfolio in Redbubble. I feel I just wasted my money. Any advice? Vanessa, I think it's going to be very hard to drive Facebook ads to Redbubble listings or even Teespring and really make consistent profit to justify the spend. I think it's going to be very hard because obviously you're making royalties here. You're not getting the full revenue for the t-shirt like you might be if you were selling on Etsy or something. So because of that, your income is so low, it's such a low proportion of the actual sale, and so your advertising has to be so dialed in, so on point, that I think it's very difficult to do. So I wouldn't recommend driving traffic via Facebook ads to Redbubble listings or Teespring. If you do want to do Facebook ads, and I've had limited success with them, I can't really stand here and say that I'm certainly not a Facebook ads expert or anything like that. But what I would say is that you would be much better off driving Facebook ad traffic to a Shopify store, to your own brand store, because then you can do a lot more. You can track with a Facebook pixel, you can track the traffic, you can do retargeting off the back of that. You can grab email addresses and all sorts of things, the kind of stuff you can't do on Redbubble and Teespring. So for those reasons, I would only really want to drive traffic to a Shopify store, paid traffic of that kind. I wouldn't say that you're necessarily wasting your money, but I think it's going to be really, really hard to do. And if you want to go that route, and I certainly think paid traffic is the way forward, but there's this, obviously paid traffic costs money. It does take a bit of courage to step up and invest that cash in the first place. And then you've got to be really committed to tweaking and keeping an eye on things. And it's a different game than the organic game that a lot of us have been playing with merch and Redbubble and stuff. So I don't know like where you're at, what kind of stage you're at with your t-shirt business and stuff, but I would say wait until you've got, maybe you have got cash in the bank, maybe you have got relatively decent cash flow coming in from print-on-demand sites. If that is the case, then great. Go and try and educate yourself about Facebook ads and how they work and the best strategies and stuff. If not, maybe just better to focus on print-on-demand and then kind of wait it out, if that makes sense. Okay, Reese says, it seems that more complex designs don't catch the eye on mobile. Yeah, but that's true on non-mobile as well. I would certainly say that, complex designs are hard to sell. If you look at like the top selling merch shirts, you'll see big, bold designs, very clear, very big, thick line work, very, cartoony or whatever. Big, massive, clear text. You don't see many intricate designs selling. And I think that's the nature of the marketplace and stuff. Intricate designs, when people are on Amazon looking for a $15 shirt or, around that kind of ballpark area, novelty, funny t-shirt or something, they're not looking for, or they're not expecting perhaps and looking for intricate designs. It's just doesn't really work. So yeah, whether it's on mobile or not doesn't really matter, but certainly complex designs are more difficult to catch the eye, in that sense. So I would, in general, you want to keep things simple, keep your designs clear and bright and simple, and eye-catching really. So I hope that helps. Adrian says, any tips on Redbubble SEO? I see designs with very few keywords appearing first, and I can't quite figure it out. I think I wrote about this, Adrian, in I think my book, How to Sell More Shirts. This one here, How to Sell More Shirts. Basically, Redbubble does have a couple of things, a couple of quirks. I think one of them is I have found that if you use the title space to use the exact kind of keywords that you're looking for. So, for example, if someone was looking for funny Christmas shirt, then your title might be funny Christmas shirt. Now, of course, that's kind of crappy and stupid, but like that, so like just having that as your title rather than a more elaborate title of any kind, just like 2 words, like literally that would be it. Things like that with Redbubble, but apart from that, I think I mentioned also like maybe changing the default background color of your t-shirt, because a lot of Redbubble shirts are black or navy. So if you do a red shirt, you might just stand out from the crowd when people come to look at search results and stuff. But apart from that, I think if you see designs with few keywords appearing first, it might be, again, it might be based on sales, a bit like Amazon. It might be based on who was first. It might be based on the title maybe having more power than the tags. So, those would be my tips, like title being exactly the search term that you're looking for, just that and nothing else. And it's not so much, obviously it's not going to help you rank, but it might help you stand out, is changing the default color of the shirt to be more of a eye-catching color or something. And I always use all my tags in not all my tags, but I use tags in Redbubble, and I always use like 15 or 20 different words, and I find that seems to help. But those are the tips as far as I know. Pat says, I am new and have sold 10. Will I get tier 25 soon? I checked every day, but no luck yet. Do I need to sell more in order to get tiered up? No, Pat, you should, if you've sold 10, you should be eligible for an upgrade when the next upgrade happens. But these things are not automatic. These things are done kind of manually and according to merch's capacity and stuff. So when it happens, it will happen, but you can't rush it. There's no way to like get yourself tiered up any faster. You just have to wait. So yeah, sorry about that one. Jack says, yes, it is very hard. Frank says, buy them yourself to tier up to 100. You could do. I don't recommend that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think Amazon is paying more attention to people on lower tiers, and I think they're making decisions based on the kind of designs you list. And whilst I don't think they're checking kind of, if you buy, I don't think they're blocking people who buy their own shirts or anything like that. But I think that if you produce low quality designs and upload them, and then you just buy like one design or something, it does say in the merch terms of service that just selling tees is not automatically and not always, doesn't always necessitate that you get tiered up. So there's like a caveat basically that says, we don't, we're not obliged to tier you up just because you sold 10 shirts. Basically what that means is if you've got a load of crap, and we can see you've got a load of crap, but you've bought one of your shirts times 10 just to break out of the 10 tier, we reserve the right to actually not tier you up because we think that your work is crap. So what I would say is if you've got good designs, then buying your way out of the tiers could be fine. No real problem with that. But make sure your work is good. And I think as we go forward, this is just kind of my hunch, I think Amazon is going to be looking for more, is going to be maybe perhaps seeing alarm bells of people trying to game the system. So if they see like one order for 10 shirts on the first day and then you don't sell any other shirts for like 2 months or something, that's going to be like alarm bells to Amazon. That's unnatural. That's weird. That means that you're not actually selling shirts. You game the system to break out of the tiers, and maybe you would get held back or something. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just think that's a reason I wouldn't buy myself out of the lower tiers, unless you have good designs in the first place. So I kind of hope that makes sense and not confuse people too much there. Kathleen says, thanks for talking about tier 25. I feel Very dejected about not selling and keep trying to remember. Part of the reason is that I don't have the volume. Yes, Kathleen, that's absolutely part of it. You only have 25 Ts. It's very, very hard to get, volume and sales at that. And yeah, there's not a lot you can do about that when you're at the lower tiers. It's just like it's limiting you. You just have to kind of wait and bide your time, really. And I wish there was some magic, magic bullet that would kind of speed things up, but unfortunately there isn't. Okay, Travis says, do you include t-shirt and hoodie in RB tags? If so, are they standalone? No, I don't, Travis. I'm just thinking back. I think I used to, but in the past year or so, I've not done that. What I would sometimes do in my tags is include like the full phrase, including t-shirt, like funny Christmas t-shirt as a tag as well. But I don't think I'm doing that anymore. You could try that and see if it kind of still works. But I think as long as you're covering the main things in your title and in your description, you don't have to kind of repeat, including like the word and stuff. But it certainly could help. It depends on kind of the niche and all that kind of stuff. Toby says he bought 25 shirts already. Does that mean I'll be in tier 100? Yes, Toby, it should. It should mean that when the next, upgrade happens, you should get to tier 100. And Toby says, people are trademarking everything. Do you think we should invest on registering our work officially? I do not have a clue about the cost. Good question, Toby. So I think I've got a couple of articles on my blog about this, 2 on copyright, which I'll just try and show you which ones they are. So there's copyright and introduction, and then there's parody, fair use, and mashups. Copyright and introduction, this blog post talks a little bit about trademark and stuff, but let me just outline what I'm thinking. So copyright and trademark are 2 different things. So copyright refers to when you create a creative work. If you created it, if you sat down and drew a drawing or whatever, or you designed a t-shirt, you own the copyright to it automatically. You created it, it's your copyright thing. Now, you don't have to register it. It's automatic. You own the copyright, because it's your work. You can register a work and register it for copyright if you want to. I think it costs like maybe something like $30 to register a single work, so that's expensive. And there are other ways around it, and there's websites like binded.com where you can kind of register trademark. It's not like legally binding, but it probably in effect might be. If you ever did need to like legally prove that you created the work. So my advice would be, Toby, so that's copyright. Sorry, let me do this. Copyright on one side, that's one thing. And then trademark refers not to pieces of art or anything like that. Trademark refers to a phrase or a name or an identifier, a trademark like a brand name. So Coca-Cola is a trademark. Star Wars is a trademark. Phrases can be trademarks as well. So, for example, Legends Are Born in September could be a trademark. Don't think it is, but for example, you could register a phrase as a trademark. So, copyright side, should you worry about registering copyright? No, I wouldn't. But what I am going to do next year is probably look at binded.com and copywriting every new work that we produce, that my designers produce or that I produce, and registering it with Binded, making that part of our workflow so that every design we produce does kind of go on the blockchain via binded.com. If you're not following what I mean here, I'll just type it up. I believe it's called binded.com. So I'm going to be looking at that as kind of just an extra added protection on the copyright side. Trademark side, I think it only makes sense to register a trademark if you're registering a brand name. So, for example, Toby's Tees, might be your brand name. And then you might want to then use that trademark on all of your merch designs, on all of your, it might be your brand name on Redbubble and stuff. And the reason you might want to do that is, number one, it might deter copycats from stealing your stuff. So if they see that you are doing everything under a brand name and you include that, trademarked name in your bullet points and in your brand and in your description or something. If a copycat comes along and copies your work, you can simply say, oh, that, if they copy your bullet point and it included your trademark name, then you could just say, hey, that's my trademark, you can't sell that. And you'd be able to take down lazy copycats of that nature. I also think there's kind of a, just in the general kind of flow of starting with print on demand and then building a brand, I think a trademarked name is a good step towards almost forcing you to think like a brand and making you be more like brand focused and thinking like, okay, my brand is Toby's Tees and we make funny animal t-shirts or whatever, and therefore I'm going to stop designing stuff that has nothing to do with animals. I'm going to focus on building a brand, and then I'm going to build my social media around this. I'm going to do regular updates. I'm going to build a community and stuff. And I think it helps to have a trademark in that sense, because you kind of, almost is a commitment that kind of means you follow through on that. And also it can deter anyone who kind of comes along later and wants to piggyback off your brand. They can't do that. If you've got the trademark, you can take down anyone who's using your trademark or anything like that. So hope that makes sense. Kathleen, any advice on how to deal with RB's recent change? T-shirt listings don't show the other products with the same design. I've changed the default image to something else like cards or stickers. Then the page shows all the other products available. Kathleen, I've not really... I've noticed the change, but personally I'm just... Because I design for T-shirts primarily, I'm not particularly bothered about showing the other products. The other products are a bonus and it's fine, but it's not something I'm not sure that having them displayed underneath the t-shirt is really contributing to that much of an increase in sales for me. So Redbubble's doing great, by the way. The increase in sales has been great over November, and I think it's going to be better again in December. So personally, it's not something that bothers me, Kathleen, but if you're having success by changing it to something else and viewing old products, then by all means continue. But personally, I make the most money on Redbubble from selling T-shirts, and so I probably wouldn't want to change it to like stickers or shirt or cards or something by default, just because I don't want to encourage people to buy stickers. I want to encourage them to buy T-shirts, really. So I hope that makes sense. Anthony says, hi, Michael. Hope all is well. What will the rest of December look like? It's probably going to be really cold, I think. I expect a massive drop-off right before Christmas, but will sales stay the same or grow up until the drop-off? Certainly a drop-off before, around about the time that, the deliveries become ineffective for Christmas. So certainly saw this last year with merch and Etsy and everything else. Once you get to like the last week before Christmas, so the week of the 20, what would it be? Maybe like the 17th, 18th or something. I mean, I think Printful have got their deadline dates up, and it's something like, I don't know what the latest is, but it's got to be somewhere like the 15th of December. Any order after the 15th of December that isn't like a rush order or hasn't got priority shipping is probably not going to make it in time for Christmas. So around the 15th and thereafter, I would expect things to start to drop. I wouldn't expect a massive drop off, but maybe because people are still kind of in buying mode, and I think a lot of people get cash for Christmas and they get gift cards and stuff. So you might find, that you still make more sales than usual, but certainly it's going to slow down after the Christmas buying rush time. So yeah, they will drop off around that last week, and you still have like a good 10 days or whatever of, should be moderate sales, I think, in my experience, but certainly nothing like the kind of high number of sales that we're seeing right now. Jonathan says, great tip on the Redbubble shirt background and using the exact keyword in title. Thank you, Jonathan. Vanessa says, many top sellers on Redbubble use titles and tags that are copyrighted words like famous movies and end up being on the first positions of relevant pages. How can you win this kind of not honest competition in movies-inspired niches when Redbubble permits this double standards? I'm not 100% sure I understand the question, Vanessa, because copyrighted words like famous movies, so of course there's a lot of copyright on Redbubble, like Star Wars or whatever. if someone's searching for Star Wars though on Redbubble, you're not going to show up anyway. So I guess my confusion is you're not in competition, or you shouldn't be in competition with people who are selling, copyrighted, trademarked, infringing content. If Bob over here is selling an infringing Star Wars design, you're selling some funny robot design. There's no overlap there. That's not competition. So I guess I'm confused as to why you think you're in competition with those people, because you shouldn't be, unless you're selling infringing designs as well. Or if you can give me an example of like a keyword or something that maybe you're talking about, maybe it's a keyword that covers both areas or something, and so you're saying that what happens is someone searches for robot t-shirt and what shows up is a lot of Star Wars designs, and you don't get a look in on the results page. I guess that could be what you're talking about. And in that case, I guess there's not a lot we can do. I mean, we don't control Redbubble. All we can do is optimize our listings to the best of our abilities. Redbubble does and is getting better at taking down infringing stuff. I think they're very aware of that problem. So we can kind of cross our fingers and hope that infringing stuff gets removed, and that leaves more room and more space for the genuine original creators. But I think you've got to bear in mind as well that the majority, probably, I think this is definitely going to be the case on Redbubble, the majority of sales are going to be infringing content. Like, they're going to be stuff that people search for, whatever it might be, Stranger Things t-shirt. They land on Redbubble and they buy the shirt, and they don't think twice, about it being infringing or unofficial or anything like that. So, if a Redbubble overnight removed all the infringing stuff, there was nothing, everything was completely original work, I think the traffic on Redbubble would really just drop off a cliff. And that might also mean that the kind of pool for everyone to fish in, even for original work, actually kind of drops off a bit, maybe. So I don't know how I got onto that, but I hope that kind of... if you give me an example, Vanessa, of what you're thinking of, I'll try and answer that question a bit better, but I hope that helps. So Adrian says, another Redbubble one for you. Should we save our image files in the default max size for Redbubble as recommended, or will these be too big and bulky? Adrian, I can just tell you what I do, which is I save a Merch by Amazon artwork file, and that same file goes on Redbubble, goes on TeePublic, goes on Design by Humans, goes on Teespring, goes on everywhere. So Merch by Amazon, the size of the Merch by Amazon template is what I use. Redbubble's might be higher or lower, I can't remember, but whatever it is irrelevant to me. I just use the same artwork file for both. So that's what I do. Okay, I think that is all the questions we have so far. Anybody else got something they want to ask me before we wrap it up? Maybe it'll be a little short. I think we've done half an hour here, which is not too shabby, but I'm certainly happy to stay on a little longer if anyone else has some more questions. But if not, I will wrap it up. But I'll give you guys a few more seconds. Let me just think about the other thing I wanted to say. So let me just update Christmas sales for me and kind of what's happening. So November was better than October by a good couple of grand, I think, in my case. So December is looking to be better than November again, but probably not by a huge amount. Maybe nothing compared to maybe like last year. But I just say that to say that merch for me has actually not increased hugely. It's kind of like this. Whereas Redbubble and TeePublic have gone like this. They've really almost doubled in November compared to October. So that's just a little update on kind of what my situation is. I think I'll do a blog post review at the end of the year, kind of review everything going into next year. So there'll be some stuff for you to get your teeth into if that's what you're into. But that just kind of updates you on where I'm at with sales and stuff. So it's good, it's steady. It's obviously a big increase, maybe like a 40% increase or something on from October to November or something, and hopefully that kind of thing will still stick with December. Okay, Toby says, do you use Merch Informer? Do you know if there is a way there to find new niches? Toby, I do not regularly use Merch Informer. I do use it occasionally, but I don't use it on like a daily basis or anything. It doesn't really form part of my everyday flow, if that makes sense. Is there a way to find new niches there? I think what Merch Informer is really good for is showing you what's selling, and it's showing you merch shirts. That's what it's showing you. So with a bit of research on there and spending some time on there, you can probably find designs that are selling, but then you need to then take that information and go and do a bit of your own research to find out, okay, is there competition? Is this a niche that's worth entering? And that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do use it. I don't use it like on the daily, but I do use it occasionally. Frank says, what tools do I use to design? Frank, I use Photoshop and Illustrator, and that is about it. I have a graphics tablet. I have a Samsung tablet here, which comes in handy. I have a proper graphics tablet as well, a Wacom. I'm just looking at maybe getting an iPad Pro. Maybe it's like a Christmas gift or something. So yeah, those are the tools I use kind of if I am designing, but actually I outsource most of my designs now, so I don't actually do much designing. I just do kind of sketches, send them to designers, and they do the heavy lifting. Excuse me. Okay, I think that is... Oh, Olga, are you familiar with Artist Shops platform? That depends. Is it the threadless Artist Shops? Is that what you mean, Olga? If so, I am familiar with it. I have used it in the past, but I don't think there's any kind of organic-y option there with Artist Shops on threadless. So again, it's basically like you set up a store and you have to drive traffic to it and stuff. So it's great in the sense that threadless will do all the printing and stuff. It's like any other POD though, really. So I pretty much don't use it anymore. Chris says, how are you approaching having multiple brands on platforms other than merch? On each site, do you have multiple accounts? I'm still only focused on NBA, so I want to have a game plan moving forward. Chris, I do have a couple of different accounts on Redbubble and on TeePublic and on Etsy. So I guess what I would say is you don't want to be selling, or at least I don't want to be selling stuff that's targeting completely different markets that don't make sense to be under one account. So like Etsy, for example, I don't want to sell cute kids shirts alongside offensive adult, I don't know, sexual innuendo or whatever, profanity shirts or something. So I'm splitting my brands off on that kind of basis. More around the markets. Like, if the person buys this, they probably might buy this, but they're definitely not going to buy this. So put that in a different brand and a different account. So yeah, that's how I approach it. Some people would go down the route of, just having a brand called T-shirt Emporium, and it would just sell T-shirts of all different kinds across all different markets. But my kind of niche and my market is funny pop culture designs and stuff, and that tends to be kind of a demographic, tends to be a teenagey, millennial type of demographic. So I want to keep a brand around that. And then I also have, for example, like cute kids shirts, and then I have a brand for that. So they're separated out, and I'm not doing them all under one, one brand. So that's how I approach it. Other people do it in a different way, but I hope that helps you going forward. Yeah. Anthony, when there isn't a freeze or throttle, do you fill your slots daily on NBA? Not usually, but over the past couple of weeks we have been doing, because we've had quite a lot of new designs we've been trying to get up in the rush before Christmas. Typical kind of, slacker mentality, have these slots that we could have filled months ago, but nothing like a bit of pressure to make you do some work, and we have been filling them every day. So I think on the tier we're on, So we did have something like 200 slots a day, uploads a day, and now it's obviously frozen. But before that, it was down to 20, and before that, it was down to 80 or something. So yeah, hopefully after Christmas that'll go back up to like the 200 or 160 a day, maybe it was, and we'll be able to start filling those up again. Vanessa, my example for double standards on YouTube, I guess you mean Redbubble. I made an artwork about a stag that represents a character from Harry Potter. I can't use Harry Potter on title nor tags, and also I have to avoid many other related words. This way my work will not appear among the relevant page for Harry Potter, because it's already full with sellers that use the copyrighted movie title. Yes, Vanessa, got it. Okay. The problem here is that you're creating an artwork based around Harry Potter in the first place, and that's really the problem. Is you shouldn't really be doing that. It's not your IP. You don't have the rights to. Even though you can get around it by not using the words, obviously you can't get seen. This is the problem you're describing. You can't get seen because you can't use the term Harry Potter, and so you at a disadvantage. There is no squaring of that circle. That is a inherent problem with your design because it represents a character from Harry Potter. My advice is don't create designs based around Harry Potter. Create original designs and original work based around non-IPs IP that you don't have access to, you don't have the rights to. Create original stuff, and then you won't have to worry about that. Now, of course, the problem then becomes, well, okay, you've got to find places and markets and niches and search terms that original stuff is okay for and will work for, that still brings you that organic traffic. And that's where, you want to look at things that are trending or what's popular, and or just use your head or go on Twitter or Reddit or whatever. But yeah, the short answer is don't create designs that are based on other people's intellectual property, basically, unfortunately. And I understand there's grey areas there. I'm not saying like it's morally wrong, or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's technically very difficult to get around, even though it's not impossible. And obviously many people do infringe on a daily basis and make a lot of money from it, probably. But it's not a long-term solution. It's kind of crappy. You're not building something for the long term. You'd be much better off dropping that completely and going and focusing on creating your own brand or your own original range of designs or something. Or even just trying to find safe areas to play in that are not IP infringing, looking at top sellers on merch or whatever, finding spaces that are safe to play in, and then doubling down on those and really focusing in on those. So I hope that makes sense. Chris says, just wondering if you can create multiple brands like on NBA. So, no, Chris, you can't. On Redbubble and TeePublic, you would need a separate account. You can't do sub-accounts, as far as I know. Same with Etsy. You can't do sub-Etsy stores. You have one Etsy account, one Etsy store. So you need to have a new account for each of those brands. So, yeah, I do that. It's not, obviously, I guess it would be a bit easier if you could have sub-brands for each account and stuff, but it's not the end of the world having to log out of one Redbubble account to log into another one or whatever. So yeah. Okay, I think, hope I've answered everyone's questions there. Let me just check. Looks like it. Okay, if you have any last-minute questions, please get them in now. And I will just go like this for the next 10 seconds and wait. But yeah, what else can I say, guys? It's Christmas time. Sales are up, things are good. Merch is frozen, that's bad. But we are, I guess this is where the rubber meets the road. If you've been doing this for like some months and some time before Christmas, this is where you get to reap the rewards for it. And if you have just started, then you find yourself in a bit of a tricky spot. But the good thing about Christmas is it happens every year so far that I can remember. So you can start thinking now about getting prepared for next year Christmas and how you can make the most of it next year. Okay, Neil says, how are you keeping thousands of shirts organized? I'm losing my mind. Great question, Neil. I am using a combination of Google Spreadsheets, a couple of Google Sheets, which I can't really go into detail here, but my course will enlighten you about that in more detail when that is ready. But yeah, basically I'm using a couple of spreadsheets. I'll give you the basic gist of it. It's basically I split things up into designs and then into listings, and then I have a spreadsheet that organizes all my design work and then a spreadsheet that organizes all my listing work. Now, that's how I do things and have done things for the past 12 months. I am looking at using a website called Airtable, which is kind of like a Google spreadsheet but has some extra kind of cool features. But I've not yet kind of cracked that and got everything set up. So currently everything stays within Google Spreadsheets. That's how I track things. Every design has a unique ID number. That unique ID number is what the design is saved as, what the PNG file is called, the actual artwork file. So it kind of it all works, but it's not exactly like a seamless system. I'm not using like one piece of software that does everything for me. I've just got kind of two spreadsheets, and it requires, a bit of manual input and work, but it works for me. And I will be talking a lot more about that in my course, which some of you are part of. Some of you will get to be a part of it in January when I finish it and launch it to the public and to everyone else. But yeah, you'll hear more about that as and when it becomes available. Okay, guys, I'm going to finish it off there, I think. Neil says, perfect, the Dropbox madness needs to stop. I use Dropbox to back up all my artwork files, but that's all Dropbox is for me. It's just like, it's where the artwork is backed up. But the organization happens on Google Spreadsheet instead. Okay, thank you, guys. Ree says the course is amazing, worth every penny. Thank you, Ree. Glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, I think one of your books has a link to a spreadsheet for organization. Yes, Kathleen, it does. Thank you for reminding me of that. I think it's probably a simpler version of what I have now, but yeah, that's true. And thank you, Olga, for that. Thank you, Jack. I'm feeling okay, actually, Jack. I just have a bit of a tickly throat, that's all. Okay, thank you, guys. How did we do there? 50 minutes. So we didn't do a short one. We did a decent length of time there. Same time next week, I should be here. I believe. No reason I shouldn't be. So I'll catch you guys next week. We'll do an Ask Me Anything next week as well. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to tag me in questions in the group if you're happy for it to be public, or you can Facebook message me as well. And hope your sales are doing great, and I hope they keep doing great and get better and better until we get to Christmas. And hope you guys are beginning to think about next year and what your strategies are and stuff. And yeah, get those questions ready for next week. And I'll talk to you then. Okay, thank you guys for joining me. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you next week. All right, thank you. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, 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 bye.